Hello, everybody. Hello to all of my fans. Hello to all of those that are only here to hate. I respect you and your commitment. I really do. Today, we're going to do something formulaic and basic, but I feel like this is necessary at this point in the offseason. What I'm going to do this week is I'm going to do lists, right? So today I'm doing my 5 favorite moves of the offseason. Tomorrow we're going to do 5 worst, my 5 least favorite moves of the offseason. Then we'll do 5 most underrated, 5 most overrated, so on and so forth. Just because it's that time of the offseason, there's not much to talk about. And realistically, despite how much Shams tries to will a Giannis trade into existence, I doubt we get anything like that. So I feel as though we've reached that point in the offseason where we kind of know what's going on and we kind of know, players are where they are. Maybe there'll be one more trade, but probably nothing too serious. And who knows? The way that I am, I just willed a Giannis trade into existence. 5 best moves by as you can see, one unique thing I did here was I replaced the E with a 3. I don't know if you guys have ever seen something like that before, but I decided to do that just to be a little bit quirky. So tell me what you guys think about that. Replacing the E with a 3, just something quirky and out there. All right, so let's get into it. These are individual moves. I'm not talking about the draft either, just because that can be its own separate thing entirely. So you're not going to see like the Atlanta Hawks trade with the Pelicans. You're not going to see like the Mavs drafting Cooper Flag, although I do think those are some of the best moves of the offseason. You're just not going to see it here. These are free agency, extensions, re-signing, stuff along those lines. Let's get it started with maybe the biggest one we had, which was Kevin Durant getting traded to the Houston Rockets. Of course, I could be missing here. I'm going off the top of my head. The package here was Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the 10th overall pick going to Phoenix. I think this is an incredible move for Houston. I think it solves a lot of their problems. And is there some risk involved? Sure. I was a little bit surprised, honestly, when I went back through KD's basketball reference. I was honestly a little bit surprised at the games played. Like, he plays a little bit more than I would have just guessed off the top of my head over the last few years. Of course, he's 36 years old. There's a contract situation looming where you're probably going to have to pay him. But I think for Houston, it makes all of the sense in the world. I'll get into the asset piece of it here in a second, but of course, it makes all the sense in the world because this is the exact type of player you needed desperately. The Rockets were the 2 seed in the Western Conference last year. Obviously, they lose. Let me make myself a little bit bigger. I am the star of the fucking show, after all. I need to be on your screen a little bit more prominently because, like I said, I am the star of the show. They were the 2 seed in the Western Conference, lose a hard-fought 7-game series against the Warriors, but we knew all of their flaws and their faults. If they had just ran it back, nobody would have taken them all that seriously because they had some huge problems, major problems offensively, right? 106 offensive rating in the clutch, 18th in the league, 44% rounding up, 43.8%. Clutch effective field goal percentage, dead last in the league, 27% from 3 in the clutch, 27th in the league, 0.84 points per possession in isolation, 24th in the league, a 93 half-court offensive rating, 22nd in the league. These numbers are not going to cut it for a team that wants to win and succeed. And when you're the 2 seed, I get they're young and, hey, trust the process. But when you're the 2 seed, you owe it to yourself to make an effort to go for it, right? Because windows, we see this now with the new CBA and the way the NBA works now. Windows are not that big. You do not have an extended runway like you maybe thought you did. So it's time to strike while the iron's hot. And these numbers offensively are just not going to cut it. They weren't good enough. They didn't have that guy, that go-to guy offensively. Could Jalen Green have maybe best case scenario turn into that? No. Could Şengün maybe turn into that? Maybe. I mean, one of the last memories I have of Şengün is him trying to, back down Draymond Green from the free throw line and him taking a 16-foot post hook over Draymond that nearly killed somebody sitting courtside. So maybe can Amin Thompson develop into that? That's asking a lot out of a guy like that. So just go out and get that guy in Kevin Durant. And when you go out and get that guy in Kevin Durant, what you're going out and getting is the exact type of player that you need. Somebody who's incredible in the clutch. Somebody who is a go-to bucket getter. Somebody who scored 1.16 points per possession in isolation last year. Hey, guess what? Yeah, he's a grandpa. Yeah, he's an old geezer. Sure, he's 36 years old. That was best in the league. A grandpa Kevin Durant was still the most efficient isolation player in the NBA a season ago. And the Suns' half-court offense was 8 points per 100 possessions better, rounding up, with him on the court versus with him off the court. So you are still getting one of the best bucket getters in the league. You're going out and getting one of the best offensive players in the league, but also a guy who's 7 feet tall, a guy who, even at his old age, you saw it at times last year, when he locks in, is still pretty good defensively, so he fits your identity there. And the best part is you really didn't give up shit. So I've been thinking about this lately. These teams that have accumulated a ton of assets, you're talking about the Rockets. You talk about the Thunder, the Jazz, who haven't really done all that much yet, the Spurs. When you look at teams like this, I think when we saw that, our initial reaction was, oh my God, these teams are loading up to go and get a player like Giannis if that player were to become available. And that could still be true. But I think what you're going to see, especially as the new CBA wreaks havoc on teams and teams are having to quickly reset their roster on the fly, is that you're going to see more moves like this. Like a trade like this for KD for a team like Minnesota would have been a big all-in venture, even if it was only giving up one pick and a couple of your contracts. That's a big all-in venture because Minnesota does not have those assets. So you're making a big all-in gamble on Kevin Durant. A team like Houston, this is nothing for them. They don't give a fuck. Jalen Green, see ya. That could be addition by subtraction right there. Dylan Brooks, we can replace you with players we have on our roster. The 10th overall pick, we don't need that, right? We already have so many young pieces on our team. We already have so many future picks. Like, we don't really need the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. It's a no-brainer for them. It's completely and totally risk-free, in my opinion. Now, if you want to say, yeah, well, KD's a locker room cancer and this, that, and the third, and he kills every team he's on, all right, that's a different conversation. But in terms from like an asset perspective, this is a risk-free move for them. So I think it's a slam dunk, no fucking questions asked deal. And I think it's one of the best moves of the offseason. Moving on to the next, Luke Kornet. So I am doing a 5 most underrated moves of the offseason, and I was like, this is going to be in there. But the more I looked at this, the more I thought, I just straight up think this is one of the 5 best moves of the entire offseason in general. Now, you might think Luke Kornet's deal, and I didn't write down these numbers. I'm a fucking idiot. You might think, and I remember at the time, this seemed a little bit hefty, right? 4 years, $40 million. So $10 million a year for Luke Kornet. But this is exactly the type of player that San Antonio needed. Obviously, last year, they were running out a backcourt of like Zach Collins. I mean, the situation was getting dire for them once Wemby was out, whether that was during a game or whether that was, once Wemby was out for the season. My DVT brother with a DVT, right? Had to cancel his whole season. We're canceling DVTs moving forward. Okay. But you were talking like a disgusting backcourt, front court, sorry, in his absence. They were +3 when Wemby was on the floor last year. +3. This is a team that went 34 and 48. +3, -6.66 with them off. Okay. Devil's number. Don't love that. Their defense was 8 points per 100 possessions worse when he was off the floor. Opponents shot at the rim more frequently. They made shots at the rim more frequently. This is all obvious. We're talking about a guy who was running away with Defensive Player of the Year before he got injured. But the Spurs just desperately needed somebody coming off of the bench, and they got that in Luke Kornet, a player who is just really good. Like, I feel like Kornet being on the Celtics, and let's just be honest, right? Kornet kind of being this pasty white guy, like, we just sort of overlook his true value, which is that of, yeah, he's a really good backup big, like really good. Maybe one of the best backup centers in the league. But beyond that, he's just like really good. His impact stats have been insane for years now. And at a certain point, that stops becoming like kind of weird anomaly stuff, small sample stuff. And that just becomes, this guy's just a very impactful basketball player, right? The Celtics were 9 points per 100 possessions better when he was on the floor last year. Opponents shot nearly 12 percentage points worse at the rim when contested by Luke Kornet. Opponents shot at the rim way less frequently when he was on the floor. And beyond all of that, defensively, all of the stuff that, is Wemby a better defender than Luke Kornet? Yes, obviously. But Wemby comes off the floor, Luke Kornet comes on. You still have fantastic rim protection. If Wemby's playing, that's 48 minutes a night of just fantastic rim protection, right? No matter what. And I do think there are lineups that they could go to and utilize where you do have Wemby on the floor and Luke Kornet. I don't know how often they'll do that, but that's interesting to me. But another thing I like about this is he's one of the best screen and roll players in the league. Fantastic screener, very physical screener, and fantastic getting to the rim, finishing above the rim. Not like an insane athlete, but finishing above the rim, has good hands, has a good feel in the short roll, good touch around the rim. One of the most efficient pick and roll players. Why I really like that is because you look at the Spurs' current situation, their backcourt, pretty crowded. De'Aaron Fox just signed a contract extension literally minutes before I started doing this. Congratulations to De'Aaron Fox. I don't love it. I just have to be honest, I don't love it. Right, but congratulations to him for that max contract extension. But you bring in Dylan Harper, 2nd overall pick. You have Castle. These young guards, they need really good, reliable bigs to help them grow in the NBA. That'll set good screens for them. That'll get them going downhill, especially a guy like Dylan Harper. And then, just being there as a screen and roll guy, Luke Kornet achieves that. I think this is a fucking fantastic. I really do. I was looking at this, I was like, holy shit, this is one of my favorite moves of the offseason. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe how much I love this deal. I was like shocked by it. Next, I have to do this. I wasn't going to do contract extensions, But holy shit, man, the Luka contract extension is a huge, massive win for the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, there is no two ways around it. The reason why I didn't want to do contract extensions was it's like, all of these guys signed rookie max deals. It's like, yeah, we all kind of expected all of that. Luka signing the max he could sign with the Lakers. Yeah, we kind of thought that maybe there's a world where he wouldn't do it, but it became obvious he was going to do it, right? Like these teams didn't do much, right? But I just want to point this out. In 2027, that'll be, I believe, year number 1 of this contract extension hitting for Luka and the Lakers. He will be the 16th highest paid player in the NBA. Like that is an insane discount. Because we're not talking about rookie scale extensions anymore. We're talking about Luka is signing an extension where he could have been an unrestricted free agent, right? Instead, he's going to be the 16th highest paid player in the league. I mean, what a massive win for the Lakers. He'll be making $10 million less than Jokic. He'll be making, I forgot the exact number, but it is like $10 million less than he could have made had he stayed in Dallas. But you look at some of the guys that will be making more money than him. I mean, Jamal Murray, we're talking about a difference of $200,000. But Jamal Murray, dude, these contracts are so ridiculous. It's like, oh yeah, $200,000. Like any of us would, and not me, right? Because I'm making $15 to $16 million a year. But any of us would be like, $200,000 a year. That's a dream salary, right? But for them, it's like the difference between $53.8 million and $53.6. This is absolutely crazy. But like Jamal Murray will be making more money. Evan Mobley, this is crazy to me. Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham on rookie extensions, right? Will be making more money than Luka Doncic. Jaylen Brown will be making $8 million more. $8 million more. Jaylen Brown. Cat, $8 million more. Yes, Anthony Davis will be making $10 million more. So, yeah, I mean, this is just a huge win for the Lakers to be getting a player of Luka's caliber at this number. Yeah, it's a huge number, $53 million. It's a fuck ton. Okay, he's not making pennies, right? But just to have a guy like that be the 15th, 16th highest paid player in the league is absolutely insane. In a league where when guys sign extensions, they're immediately the highest paid player in the NBA. That's not the case with Luka. Especially because he also ticks all of those boxes for like the super maxes, right? The award finishes, all of that shit. And what this also opens up for the Lakers is this: you now have Luka under contract guaranteed, and the fact that he is making $55 million instead of $65, $68, $70 million means that you have max cap space available to you in the 2027 free agency class. We just talked about this yesterday, so I won't go too far into it, but any other team, I'd be like, who really cares? Free agency doesn't really work like that anymore. The Lakers are different, right? Steph will be 39 years old. I don't know if he's really relevant in this, but Giannis is a free agent. Shams is stirring the pot a little bit on that one. Is Giannis on the table? I don't know. Giannis will be a free agent. AD will be a free agent. Would that be fucking hilarious? It would be hilarious. Hilarious for me? No. But would it be funny in general? Yes, it would. Jokic is a free agent. Now, I'd put that at nearly 0% chance, but since it's the Lakers, I can't say 0. Cat would be a free agent. I think that could be an interesting fit next to Luka. I don't know about committing long-term to Cat he'll be close to 30 at that point. Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young. These are all guys who I think are probably around max salary players who will be hitting free agency in 2027. Just something to keep an eye on, right? I don't love this strategy usually, and I do think it could backfire in the Lakers' face 100%, but they are the Lakers, so it could work out. But getting Luka at $55 million a year is just huge. I mean, it's a massive discount. And yeah, he's going to get paid a fuck ton of money in a few years' time when he's eligible for that mega 350 or whatever it is. Are we in the 500s at that point? $500 million deal, whatever the fuck it is, $80 million a year. Yeah, he's going to get paid a ton of money. But for the next 3 years, like, you better strike while the iron is hot, right? Next up, I can't believe I had this on here. So there might be people upset with this inclusion of this move and the exclusion of others. But I am going with Cam Whitmore getting traded to the Washington Wizards. And this is funny to me because I don't even like Cam Whitmore as a player, personally. I don't really think there's a pathway for him becoming like a legitimately good NBA player. The thing is, though, the Wizards gave up 2 second-round picks to land the guy. This is a guy who slipped in the draft, obviously, and I think we have seen those reasons sort of pan out. There was some injury concerns with him out of the draft, but also some of it was like, is this guy going to be a good pro? Like that was some concerns, and I don't think he's shown that yet. But this was a guy who had like high lottery talent entering that draft process in a draft that was loaded. Obviously, you had Wemby, you had the Thompson twins, you had Scoot, who everybody loved. So this was, I really like this for the Wizards. This is the type of move that teams like this should be making, right? And you sit down and you look at what the Wizards have done lately. As much shit as they get, they've done a pretty fucking good job. I've kind of liked what they've done. And taking a stab at a guy like Cam Whitmore, again, you look at his numbers, his scoring stuff is interesting. And if you watch the Rockets, there are flashes of that offensive brilliance, that athleticism, that individual skill that he does possess, right? Like on a per 75 basis, he's at 21 points per 75 possessions. I mean, that's a lot, right? He gets to the rim. Does he finish at the rim? Great. No, but he does get to the rim. A lot of that self-created. He is strangely an uber efficient long mid-range guy. So all the tools are there for this like really impressive offensive talent. The thing is putting it all together and giving him a runway. And I don't even know if he'll get that runway in Washington to be who he really wants to be. But I like the shot for Washington. Again, you gave up nothing. You gave up 2 second-round picks. Your team like Washington is like, we're going to be shit anyways. We're not that talented of a team. So he'll have that runway to do that. But on top of that, we got Chris Middleton here. We've got some vets on our roster that could help out this guy become more of a professional. So I do like that. I do like it for him. That's assuming Chris Middleton doesn't get bought out, which I guess is a possibility. You never know in today's NBA. So I like it. And I don't even love Cam Whitmore as a player. So there's 4. Here's some honorable mentions really quick. I want to shout the Hawks. Like pound for pound, I think the Hawks had the best offseason. I don't know if I want to spoil that because I think we'll probably do 5 teams had the best offseason. I think the Hawks did probably have the best offseason pound for pound. I think they did a tremendous job. But I sat down and I broke down, looked at all the individual moves they made. And I don't know if any of them cracked my 5 favorite. Because you're thinking what? Getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker is obviously better than getting Cam Whitmore. And I do agree with you there. But you paid Nickeil Alexander-Walker above the mid-level. That's about his value. You didn't get a crazy value there. In the process, Karis LeVert had to leave. I liked what Karis LeVert did for you. So I like that trade-off. But the Wizards got Cam Whitmore for nothing. So you see what I'm kind of getting at with this. The KP trade, incredible. I love it. That's a huge high ceiling move for you. That could pay off tremendously. And you know what? If KP's hurt, plays 30 games, whatever the case may be, has a shitty year, it doesn't affect you much because he's an expiring contract and you didn't give up much of anything for him. And obviously the draft night trade with the Pelicans is a huge, massive success. So, but like I said, I wasn't doing draft stuff. So I love the Hawks offseason. Same with the Celtics. I like what they did. I can't congratulate you and give you a pat on the back and throw a parade and say you did some of the 5 best moves because yes, you did the best with the cards. You dealt to yourself, right? Of having all these guys with big contracts that you had to get off of. You had to get off the Drew money. You had to get off the KP money. Had to let Kornet walk. Had to let Horford walk. You got off pretty much scot-free. I thought for sure you'd be having to give up picks and valuable stuff to get off some of these guys. That did not happen. But I can't say it's the best move whenever your team got noticeably worse. I actually think we're kind of sleeping on how fucking terrible this team will be. I think they're going to be bad. Right? I think that's a big time possibility. But I do think they did good with the cards they dealt themselves. And the Nuggets. So this one might be controversial, I guess, because I think people would absolutely have the Nuggets moves. It's top 5. I love the MPJ trade for them. I love it. I love Cam Johnson. It might even be an upgrade over MPJ. But you did give up kind of a lot, right? You got much cheaper in that deal. Dan, that's probably a top 5 move. Well, I don't have it in here, so whatever. But you got much cheaper, and that allowed you to make other moves along the margins. But you did give up a future first that could be incredibly valuable. That was really your last pick you had to play around with. I think it's a move you had to make, especially with Jokic at this stage of his career where you just have to be doing all you can to win. But I do think there's some risk there. You look at the games played, and it's Cam Johnson is a guy who has dealt with injuries over the last few years. And MPJ is a frustrating player in that regard, but Cam Johnson is somewhat similar, right? I do think there's some defensive questions there as well, but I think Cam Johnson's going to be an incredible fit. I love the Bruce Brown fit, right? Do I think it's one of the 5 best moves? No, not really, because Bruce Brown hasn't been good since he left the Nuggets, but I love it. Minimum contract. Tim Hardaway Jr., I said I'm doing 5 most underrated moves later in the week. Stay tuned for that one. I love that. Jonas Valanciunas, I love it, right? Trading, what was it, Dario Saric for him? I mean, I'm doing 5 worst moves of the offseason later this week. That might be on there as well. I'm just letting you know. I thought about including that one just because having a guy like Jonas behind Jokic finally will help out so much. But the awkwardness of him wanting to leave the NBA, I think, is like a cloud hanging over his head there. But I love their offseason. I just didn't have any of their moves in the top 5. But I think they probably had a top 5 offseason as well. But of course, my last move here, and this shouldn't fucking be on here. The last move I have is a Desmond Bane trade for the Magic. Yes, I might be contradicting myself a little bit here because there is some big time risk involved. The Magic traded 5 picks, including swaps, and to get this deal done. I'm assuming one of those picks probably had to be included to get KCP's deal. So there's some big time risk there, but you look at their team and yeah, they are young, right? Paolo's young. Franz is young. Jalen Suggs is young, but they're fucking expensive. Like they just gave Paolo the max contract extension. So he's going to be in the 50s soon. Franz is in the 40s. Jalen Suggs is in the 30s, right? So you're paying a lot of money now, and Desmond Bane's making a lot of money, of course. So it's time to go. You've been this fun, cute team for a little bit. Last year was a big time disappointment. You were hurt. That gives you a little bit of an excuse. But now it's time to go and strike while the iron is hot. And the Eastern Conference is pretty open. And this move is massive to me. I think it's incredible. So if you're wondering, well, why is the Bane trade on here and not maybe some other trades that happen that also help teams out? The Bane trade, I think, is such a massive force multiplier for this team. You look at the numbers for the Magic last year. 26 in offensive rating. 27th in half-court offensive rating. 21st in three-point frequency. Dead last in three-point percentage. These are numbers that are not going to cut it and not acceptable for a team that wants to be good. You're not going to win shit with these numbers, period. I don't care how good your defense is. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how well you rebound. You're not going to win shit with this at all. Like, you're probably not even going to win a playoff series with these numbers. Does Bane automatically make them a top 10 offense? No, I don't think that. But he's going to help them be closer to middle of the road offensively, which with their offense is good enough. And I think when you get to the playoffs, a guy of like Paolo's build, Franz's build, these guys who are liable to pop off on any given night, that gives you a good opportunity to win games and win playoff series. So I think it's more of a force multiplier, right? I mean, I just look at these fucking numbers. Like the three-point frequency thing. You want to know who was dead last year in three-point frequency? The Denver Nuggets. You want to know who was bottom half of the league in three-point frequency last year? The Oklahoma City Thunder. You want to know who was also towards the bottom? The Houston Rockets. These are all teams that had very successful seasons, teams that won the NBA championship in the Thunder's case, teams that made playoff runs and looked like real contenders in the Nuggets case. The difference is those teams like didn't shoot a lot of threes, but hit them at a good clip, right? The Nuggets, I think, were like third or fourth in accuracy. Dead fucking last. 32. How are you shooting 32% for 30 in 2025? I mean, that's insane. 32%? Crazy, right? So they needed somebody who could shoot some threes, and obviously Desmond Bane provides that. 19 points per game last year, over 6 3-point attempts. That's low for him. I expect that to be closer to 8 next season. Nearly 40% from three. Incredible off of screens. That's something that they can initiate and something they can go to. But I also included these right here because it's important. You know, he was an efficient player last year as a pick and roll ball handler and an efficient player last year in isolation. I factor that in because it's not like Bane's just going to come in here and go stand in a corner and that's all he can do. You're getting a player who competes defensively, one, that fits your identity there, tough, hard-nosed player, and two, obviously T-Rex arms. And number two, a guy who, yes, will shoot threes for you, will spot up, will come off of screens, but also will flow within your offense. His playmaking, I think, is underrated. A guy who will attack a closeout, attack a shifted defense, and keep your offense flowing, right? Because that's something they need to. They need their offense to be a little bit more, there needs to be a little bit more song and dance with their offense. There needs to be a little bit more rhythm. Get going. Show me something fun, right? Obviously, the jerseys are fucking great. I mean, you got to win now. The jerseys are fantastic. Look at how good that looks. The jerseys are top tier. You got to win now. And Desmond Bane does that. So those are my 5 favorite moves of the offseason. I love the Bane trade. I love it for Orlando. I love Washington just taking a stab at Cam Whitmore. Will it work out? In my opinion, probably not. But it's great process. It's great process. And if I'm a Wizards fan, I'm like, dude, we're kind of doing some good shit, right? I love the Luka extension for the Lakers. It's just a home run. Right, you lucked out big time there. I love the Kornet addition for the Spurs, for a team I think is probably going to be pretty good this upcoming season. And the KD trade for Houston is just a massive W. So let me know what you guys think. What are y'all's 5 favorite moves of the offseason? Make sure you guys like this video, okay? I'm walking now, guys. Look, I'm walking in my boot. I mean, look at it. It's getting more and more natural, folks. I'm going to be out there in no time.